As the mother of a Black and Puerto Rican boy, I am very happy with the level of services my son is receiving in the schools, the level of support he's getting. But we've also had experiences at other institutions that I won't name that let me know that I have to be a very big advocate for my child because some people just don't get it. And some people don't realize the harm of boys being boys or inconsequential actions, especially when your child is the only one of a certain group and things are happening to them and they're too young to understand what's going on. So I will say that while we're happy here now, it would not be odd to expect us to move once our son graduates from Glenbard West.
But what I wanted to remind people of is there are really two Glen Ellyns. The area that is east of Route 53, most people think is Lombard. And this neighborhood is highly diverse. A lot of South Asians, Hispanic, and lower income people live here. We have many, many apartment buildings. And when I tell people where I live, those even who have been in Glen Ellyn for many years say, oh no, that's Lombard. I didn't think that was Glen Ellyn at all.
We still have structural segregation in Glen Ellyn, as we do in many communities. I'm sure if we plotted each block in the community, we would find clusters or at least hundreds of blocks and neighborhoods that have no diversity or minimal diversity. So I think one of the things that calls us to do is to make an extra effort to find and seek out diversity in our larger community, because we may not have it immediately in our neighborhood. But I think that's one of the huge structural and historical roadblocks that we have to recognize and deal with.
My daughter was in the special ed track and she attended Glenbard South until she was overcome with schizophrenia and had to move to an alternative school. Years later, the agency that cares for her was excited to say, we've opened an office in DuPage County and we're going to bring her close to home if that's what you want. She lived in Carroll Stream for a little while, and then she lived in Glen Ellyn for a little while, on Lorraine around the corner from the library. But I think it was less than a year when the agency picked up and moved, left the county, left the entire county, and the straw that broke the camel's back in Glen Ellyn, in the village, it felt to me, I cannot document this and I certainly have no proof, it's just my considered opinion, that the home made the neighbors uncomfortable. It was full of Black and brown individuals with mental illness and disabilities. It was staffed by Black and brown attendants who did not live in the village because they were making minimum wage and there's no way they could have afforded to live in the village of Glen Ellyn. You need to make all of these expensive upgrades. And from what I was told, again, this is what I heard, not what I could document. None of them, the required upgrades, had anything to do with the safety of the neighborhood or the safety of the residents. They were not safety requirements, but they were so expensive that there was no way that this agency could possibly have. It felt to me like redlining. And if it's a Black or brown family that wants to move in, they need to be careful.
So I would offer that there is a mindset that is still too prominent and exists in our community as well as others that I would call the scarcity effect, which is that people tend to see a focus on the others, particularly Black and brown communities, on the poor, folks who are differently situated either by sexual identity or by disability, that when that focus occurs, that somehow we're into a zero-sum game, and that an addition for one becomes a subtraction for others. And I would submit that's a deeply misguided and faulty belief, because in fact diversity creates enormous value, and so striking out against that mindset, I think is critically important, but it's certainly a roadblock.
I heard of this group of students who got moved between different elementary schools because none of the schools or the parents wanted those kids in their school. I mean, it wasn't my kids or anything like that, but you saw that happen in the community. So I think it's the mindset and how we change that is going to be a challenge.
I have a board who has said we want our staff to start to look like our kids. What really was kind of a wake-up call for me is I'm not from here. I started my career in Chicago, and you know what really smacked me was every time you work in places and then you move on and you're in a leadership position, you take those people with you in your heart that like, I would love to bring you with me someday, you know. And when I had 3 people of color who said to me, I'd love to work with you again, but I'm not coming to Glen Ellyn. You know, and I don't have much skin in the game because I've only been here a year and, you know, some months, and so much of it has been remote because of COVID. But I couldn't even, like, the depth to which they wouldn't even consider was really a smack in the face. And so, you know, for me, it's like I can't carry on the work that I know the board expects until I can figure out how to break that down to where people will even come.
And I'm co-president of League of Women Voters with Erica Nelson, and I want to say that this kind of forum, I really feel like this is something we need to do on a regular basis, and I would support that.
If you're used to privilege, equality feels like oppression.